Akhenaten ruled in the 14th century BC and was considered a heretical pharaoh for changing the polytheistic religion of ancient Egypt. He declared there was only one god, Aten, a god he depicted as a disk in the sky.
There are so many illustrations of them painted on the temple walls, as well as granite sculptures of Akhenaten, of his wife Nefertiti, of their daughter Meritaten. Even King Tut was one of the children of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. There are busts of King Tut that also show an elongated skull. We're also seeing that they have a very narrow rib cage, and the distance between their neck and their waist is longer than typical humans would have on Earth. You look at this granite bust of Meritaten, where her head extends all the way back, there's no hair, and you tell me that if a guy actually made that as a mistake, that he would still be allowed to work or even allowed to finish the sculpture? He was sculpting what they really look like.
Could it be that some crop formations serve as a medium for extraterrestrial communication? Many crop circle researchers say yes.
One formation had everyone baffled, and people were saying, well, what is this?
It's a representation of pi in a geometric sense. It's kind of interesting because the way you get pi out of it is the lengths of the different arcs in each segment. And what happens is there's these little notches in the spiral that let you know you're at the end of an arc. So it's a really interesting example of using geometry as a code for representing digits and numbers.
Many of the most famous crop circles actually derive from fractal patterns. Mathematics is, of course, the universal language. If we ever encounter aliens, they're not going to speak English or French or German. We'll speak and we'll communicate via mathematics. Could crop circles, as some believe, be an attempt from an alien civilization to reach out and communicate with us?
There's a consistent amount of sacred geometry, tetrahedrons, cubes, octahedrons, and even more complex geometric patterns. Many of our best and top scientists are now saying that this geometry is the secret keys to the higher dimensions, and it's right there in the crops, as if they're giving us a trail of breadcrumbs showing us how to get to the next level as a planet.
In 1947, when famous polar explorer Admiral Richard Byrd flew reconnaissance missions over the North Pole.
Admiral Richard Byrd was able to fly to the North Pole and back and recorded flying over lush green areas where none should have been. And then 3 years later, he flew over the South Pole.
It's rumored that when Admiral Byrd's task force actually got to Antarctica, that one of the first things they discovered was an entrance into a hollow Earth civilization that was populated by very, very advanced beings.
Admiral Byrd made a lot of unusual statements, including talking about what he called a new kind of craft that could fly from pole to pole.
Is it possible that entrances to another world can be found at the Earth's poles? And if so, did Admiral Byrd actually pass through one of them? According to some ancient astronaut theorists, such gateways do exist. But rather than leading to inner Earth, they may be portals to another dimension. But whether an other Earth exists, what would its discovery mean for the future of humanity?
If we were to discover the other Earth, the place we have sought, the missing world, it would be profoundly humbling.
Did ancient aliens really help to shape our history? Did they leave behind a secret code? One which reveals mankind's extraterrestrial origins.